Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome to those listening in live and those who will be listening in afterwards to our in this special event. I'm really pleased to be starting off this event, reflecting on successes and looking to the future, a showcase of FIPWiSE, the FIP Women in Science and Education program of FIP. The next slide is just a reminder of who I am, or an introduction to those who don't know me. My name is Lina Badr. I'm the FIP lead for programs on equity, sustainability policy, as well as generally development, and very, very pleased to be chairing this event today. Just a quick list of announcements for you before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and live streamed via YouTube, so you can always access the recording afterwards. It will also be available on our website, events.fip.org. You may feel free to ask questions using the question box provided, and we welcome you introducing yourselves via the chat. Of course, any feedback can always be sent to webinars@fip.org to help us always improve our events and your experience. And finally, if you aren't already, we encourage you to become a member of FIP, and you can find out all about our membership benefits on our website. So today's program, a very special event, has a few parts. We will start with a showcase of the FIPWiSE program to those who aren't familiar with it. This is my welcome. We will also use the showcase part to introduce you to the Equity RX program, which supports the implementation of FIP DG10 equity and equality. The second part, very excitingly, we will be hosting a panel discussion moderated by the FIP CEO, Dr. Catherine Duggan, about the future of FIPWiSE and continuing the empowerment of young women in science and education through pharmacy and FIP. We will also hear a special message on a video from the immediate past president of FIP, and concluding remarks by Catherine again before closing the event. What this event is about, really, we are here together to use this opportunity to celebrate the United Nations International Day of Women in Science, Women and Girls in Science, which took place over the weekend on the 11th of February. Of course, it happens to be Valentine's Day, so we're going to be using this event to spread the love we have for all around the world. We want to also use this for everybody to be on the same level in terms of understanding the aim and scope of the FIPWiSE program, what we've done, where we are, and of course, discuss together where we want to be. And importantly, discuss how FIP can further support women in science and education moving into the future. This is just a reminder, of course, of this special day that we are celebrating. The theme this year by the UN was bringing everyone forward for sustainable and equitable development. And this year's focus will be on the role of women and girls and science as relates to the Sustainable Development Goals, including SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, and SDG 17, partnership and means of implementation. So a clear focus from the UN on sustainable and equitable development, which aligns with some of our priorities at FIP as well, in terms of sustainability and equity in pharmacy. Without further ado, I'd like us to begin part one with a showcase of the program of equity DG10, followed by FIPWiSE. We'll be first starting with Noor Al-Tahla. She's FIP's projects coordinator on equity, sustainability, policy and development. She'll be spending a few minutes telling us more about the importance of the development goals, DG10 equity and the Equity RX portfolio. Noor, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lina, and hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. So I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of FIP's development goals, which reiterate FIP's commitment to bettering global health through pharmacy. They're a great key resource for transforming the pharmacy profession over the next decade globally, regionally, and nationally. They align with FIP's mission to support global health by enabling the advancement of pharmaceutical practice, sciences, and education, and are set to transform pharmacy in alignment with wider global imperatives underpinning the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Specifically, FIP's Development Goal 10, Equity and Equality, calls out for clear strategies to address inequalities in the pharmaceutical workforce, widen access and equity of pharmaceutical care services and access, as well as equity and global capacity in pharmaceutical sciences development. As with all other goals, FIP Development Goal 10 is composed of three main elements. The first element, the workforce and education element, sets out clear strategies for addressing equity and diversity inequalities in pharmaceutical workforce development, continued education and training, and career progression opportunities. The second element, the practice element, sets out clear strategies for equity and diversity in pharmaceutical services delivery, service access, and service impact so that all people have access to quality pharmaceutical care. And the third element, the science element, sets out strategies for equity and global capacity of pharmaceutical sciences training, research infrastructure, development and manufacturing capabilities, and evidence-based regulatory oversight. FIP's Equity RX is the FIP Equity and Equality Program, and it supports the progress and implementation of Development Goal 10 locally, regionally, and globally beyond gender and diversity balances, extending to equity and access to care and all that this encompasses. Operating under the motto Pharmacy Leaving No One Behind, FIP Equity RX is a large program encompassing many unique areas of work, all of which come together to support equity and equality for all. So the goal supports equitable access to healthcare for all individuals, regardless of their social, demographic, and health identifiers and their intersectionalities, such as age, disease and comorbidities, gender, literacy and access to education, mental and physical ability, race and ethnicity, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic status and class. And finally, FIPWiSE has always been closely aligned with the Equity RX portfolio, and as part of a refreshed plan for 2023, FIP is embedding FIPWiSE into the Equity RX portfolio. Please visit our Equity RX website to find more publications, tools, frameworks, and digital events to support transforming the agenda nationally. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Noor. It is a very exciting juncture for FIPWiSE and Equity RX. Already, as Noor mentioned, two closely aligned programs, and we're just going to be making sure they are even more aligned. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Aysu Selçuk. She is the FIPWiSE Program Coordinator and as well as the Education and Primary Healthcare Policy Specialist at FIP. As with many of us at FIP headquarters, many of us wear many hats. Aysu, thank you so much, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, thank you, Lina. Next slide, please. Science, education, and gender equity are vital for achievement of the international agreed development goals, including UN's 23 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Therefore, FIP developed a Women in Science and Education program called FIPWiSE. FIPWiSE is one of the FIP's program initiated to support equity for women in science and education. It was launched on the 11th February 2020 on the United Nations International Day of Women and Girls in Science to champion women in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy education. FIPWiSE aims to achieve equity by building a solidarity network to empower women in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy education to achieve their full potential and to attract students and young women into these fields. And also recently, FIPWiSE aims global implementation of FIP development goal, equity and equality, to address equity and diversity inequalities in pharmaceutical workforce development, continuing education and training, and career progression opportunities. So you can see the FIPWiSE link in this slide. I'm also going to share the website in the chat box. You can visit the FIPWiSE website to learn more for our program and our aims. Next slide, please. And FIPWiSE program supports and links with one FIP goal and also FIP DGs, including a DG1, academic capacity, DG2, early career training strategy, DG3, quality assurance, DG5, competency development, DG6, leadership development, DG8, working with others, DG9, continuing professional development strategies, DG10, equity and equality, DG11, impact outcomes, DG12, pharmacy intelligence, and DG13, policy development. Next slide, please. So I would like to thank our FIPWiSE volunteers, FIPWiSE executive sponsor, Prof Parisa Aslani, and FIPWiSE chair, Prof Claire Thompson, who is with us today, and she will share her views during the panel discussion, and our other volunteers, FIPWiSE team and working groups. Thank you for their support so far. 3 years they were with us during our program implementation. Next slide, please. And also, I would like to introduce our FIPWiSE staff team, FIP CEO, Dr. Catherine Duggan, myself, and now we have 3 new members. They were always supporting us, but now they are really into the team. They are really coming into the team. Dr. Lina Bader, Ms. Zuzana Kusunova, and Ms. Noor Altala. Welcome on board. Thank you. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have FIPWiSE working groups, volunteers. They were with us for 3 years. And you can see their names here in the steering committee, confidence and competence. And next slide, please. Enabling workplaces, supporting youth, and also next slide, please. The FIP DG10 and FIP Equity RX working groups. So FIPWiSE steering committee is comprised of FIPWiSE working group members who will set challenges and or implement the strategy of FIPWiSE and provide updates from the 4 working groups. And of course, these working groups includes confidence and competence, enabling workplaces, supporting youth in pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences, and implementation of FIP DG10. And next slide, please. Thank you for their support. And in line with the working groups, with FIPWiSE, we have 4 main work streams. The first work stream is confidence and competence. Under this work stream, we have some initiations like FIP digital events, FIPWiSE World Series, Fearless Podcast, and Rising Stars. And in the second work stream, we have enabling workplaces work stream. This program work stream includes FIPWiSE Toolkit. And for the supporting youth work stream, we have interviews with young scientists as well as mentorship program collaborated with YPG. And for the last work stream, we have equity RX collection. So in my next slides, I will share some examples for each work streams. The FIPWiSE Works is hosted Women in Science and Education. And it includes a short video recordings for inspiring women to share their stories with FIPWiSE community. They are all available in the FIP's YouTube channel. If you are interested, you can learn and watch them all in the YouTube channel. Next slide, please. Another initiative is FIPWiSE Fearless Podcast Series. It is hosted by the FIPWiSE chair, Prof Claire Thompson, and it features interviews with women in pharmaceutical science and education. So both World Series and Fearless Podcast Series was initiated in the first anniversary of the FIPWiSE program. Next slide, please. And for the second anniversary of FIPWiSE, FIP launched another initiative called FIPWiSE Rising Stars List. It is to recognize exceptional women in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy education based on achievements, innovations, and significant impacts made. The list aims to foster equity and equality, diversity, and inclusion among individuals, organizations, and policymakers. We have 20 rising stars selected last year by the FIPWiSE panel, and the list is very diverse, including women from different pharmacy fields like academia, industry, science, and all 6 WHO regions. And to learn more about our rising stars, you can always refer to FIPWiSE website. Next slide, please. So under the Enabling Workplaces work stream, we have FIPWiSE Toolkit for Positive Practice Environments, and it is developed with the collaboration with World Health Professions Alliance. And you can also scan the QR code to reach the full toolkit. Next slide, please. The toolkit identified 5 key factors to enable positive practice environments for women in science and education. These factors are equal incentives for equal work, work-life balance, creating supportive and safe working environments, opportunities for professional development, recognition, and empowerment, and women in leadership. So the toolkit authors are also, some of them are with us today. They will share their views during the panel discussion. This toolkit includes how these factors affect workplaces and case studies, as well as solutions for employers and managers, professionals in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy education, and policymakers to enable positive practice environments. So next slide, please. Under the Supporting Youth work stream, FIPWiSE Mentorship program collaborated with YPG. In the images, you may see the mentees and mentors who are involved in the FIPWiSE Mentorship program. The program is to support young women professionals by recognizing the gender-specific challenges they face in the areas of pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy education. Next slide, please. The last initiative that I want to mention is Equity RX collection. My colleague Noor has already shared the background of this work. So basically, Equity RX offers a platform to leaders in the pharmacy profession to talk about their career development and share views on gender equity in pharmacy. FIPWiSE is a new program started 3 years ago, but it has several initiatives and will grow gradually. So that's all I want to share now. I will be happy to answer if there's any questions from the participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aysu. We're getting lots of claps from the audience. Thank you so much. That is definitely a really excellent showcase. And we hope that at the beginning of 2023, this description from us puts in perspective the importance of this work, everything we've delivered, and we can build on this from today moving on to deliver even more impactful work. That's the aim of the meeting today and the panel discussion. So very happy to begin the panel discussion, and as I've mentioned earlier, this will be chaired by our CEO, Dr. Catherine Duggan. And for those of you who don't know her, this is her picture on the slide, but I think Catherine is famous. Catherine, over to you.
Thank you so much, Lena. Yes, and famous alongside all of the team as well, and all of our panelists who I will take time to introduce in a couple of seconds. I also just wanted to pay tribute to our team and to everyone who is working hard in Turkey and Syria on these days of great hardship. And we, as a team, we have Aysu with us, who is based in Ankara. And obviously, this is very, very close to her heart. We're thinking of you all. Okay, so Lena, I think we're going to have the panelists themselves today, aren't we? So great opportunity for me to chair such a great set of women in science and education. We have Professor Claire Thompson, who is our FIPWiSE Chair and the Chief Executive of Agility Life Sciences based in the United Kingdom. We have Professor Marilyn Morris, a Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Pharmaceutical Sciences from the University of Buffalo in the US. We have with us Professor Lilian Azzopardi, who's head of the Department of Pharmacy in the University of Malta, based in Malta. Professor Charlotte Rossing, Director of Research and Development at the Danish College of Pharmacy Practice, based in Denmark. We have Professor Dalal Hamoudi Halat, who is a Common Year Coordinator, QU Health, Qatar University, based in Qatar, and also one of our FIP team, Alison Etukakpan, who is the FIP Educational Partnership Specialist based in Nigeria, and who works with us at FIP. And Alison has a very close connection to FIPWiSE, which she will tell us about. I wonder if it's worth us now all joining together on the screen so that we can spend time discussing some of the questions I have to pose. Wonderful, lovely to see you all. And thank you for your time today. I've got a couple of questions for each of you. We do need to finish probably in about half an hour. So I'm going to take my opportunity to ask the questions. And if we run close to time, then I might cut one or two out. But we each have a couple of questions. So this is lovely. I'm going to start with Claire. I start at the very beginning, Claire.
So it's a very good place to start, Catherine.
It is, absolutely. We could sing a song about that. Reflecting on your experience then, Claire, as chairing FIPWiSE over the past year and the past 3 years, what are the milestones you're most proud of at FIPWiSE?
Well, I'm phenomenally proud of what we've been able to achieve in the last 3 years. I think from a global perspective, they felt like very long and very hard years. And yeah, thoughts to colleagues who are finding it particularly hard at the moment. But I think we've achieved a phenomenal amount in a relatively short time. The things that stand out for me are the positive practice environments paper, which for me really helps to achieve one of our key ambitions, which is enabling and empowering. So we're helping to create environments in which people can succeed. And although it's focused on supporting women, when we create these environments, everybody can succeed. So this is it's a platform that we have developed, and kudos to everyone that was involved in this. We couldn't have done this without the support of all the volunteers. So thank you so much. Creating those positive practice environments is a platform that anyone can take on board, and create wonderful environments for their people, for their tribe. So that's the first piece. But the second piece is the FIPWiSE Rising Stars. We were overwhelmed by the number of applications and nominations from around the world. We had, I think, 160 all in, and it was incredibly difficult to narrow that down. I think we initially thought we would have 10 rising stars, but there were too many wonderful applications, so we ended up with 20 dotted around the globe. And a huge highlight for me was in Seville in September, actually managing to meet some of those rising stars in person. It's so important that we shine a light on the wonderful people who they think they're just doing their job, but actually they're having a great impact around them on innovation, on patients, and they're inspiring the next generation. So again, enabling, empowering, inspiring, that's what we're about. That's what we've been able to deliver, and long may it continue.
Well, I have to say, Claire, you definitely lead by example, being enabling, empowering and inspiring yourself. They're lovely words. I'll come back to you with another couple of questions in a short while. I'm going to move to Alison now. Alison, I wonder, just from your own experience, if you could just tell us a little bit about how young professional women and female students can be supported to thrive in science and education, and how they can be in their country, but really what can FIP do for them?
Well, thank you very much, Catherine, for giving me the floor. Before I start to just throw more light on how we can support young women in science and education, I would like to share with everyone that being a woman in science and education is really close to my heart, because the 11th of February is actually also my birthday. So, and now I find myself practicing in education as well. It's just really close to my heart professionally. So I would like to say that the first thing that we need to consider as FIP when we want to support professional women and female students in science and education is actually to know what our needs are. We need to do like a high level assessment, needs assessment, to be able to really identify what these women need. I know that there are studies around the globe, but the pharmacy population is different to an extent, and just going a deeper to assess what do we really need would be a good start for FIP to support young professional women and female students. But beyond this identifying the needs, it's established that women who find themselves in science and education are always more likely to leave their career path because of gender discrimination being an obstacle. So one way that the Federation can approach this is to put up with strategies that dismantle these biases, come up with policies as a Federation that ensures that there are no elements of gender bias in our practice area, in our academic institution, take a stand against this. I know that FIP is leading on equity in this, and just having those kind of policies, enablers in place would definitely, in a long run, support female students and young professionals. We also have the aspect of supporting them along the career path. So now you find yourself as a young professional woman in practice. How can FIP support these professional women? One of the ways is through mentorship, and I'm really glad to learn about the FIP ECPG mentorship program that is being done already for young women in pharmacy. We also have skills developing and networking, but I really like to stress on mentorship because it needs to go beyond just a structured mentorship to more of following up the outcomes of the mentorship to see if the mentors and the mentees actually have values from this. So what I'm saying in essence is, for young scientists, it's really important that they reflect and see leaders that are like someone that is in a position that they would like to be in a long term, and having opportunity to be mentored by such persons usually would be a career boost and a career path for them. I'll just stop here, Catherine, and I'm happy to provide more insights on this later on. Thank you.
Lovely, Alison. That's very, very fruitful. So I also think it's worth noting, while we have many eminent professors and leaders and scientists on the call here, we cannot take it for granted that women in science and education globally are treated with equity. So we need to, Claire will understand this, keep our eye on the ball as we go forward. And Alison, I hear a lot about mentoring. So maybe we need to move from the Rising Stars to the Emerging Mentors as one of our programs of work. We'll see where we get to at the end of this. Wonderful. So I'll be back to you, Alison, in a short while. I'm going to move to Lillian next. Lillian, I wonder if you could just share with us some of your experiences about the mentorship program itself, its effectiveness on building confidence and competence in pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences students, and also really to follow on from Alison's request that this might be spread even wider. Thanks, Lillian.
Yes, I have had the privilege, and I emphasize the word privilege, to have been a mentor for two pharmacists who were enrolled in the program, in the FIP program. And therefore, I can say that I did grow also. So I think for the people who are going to go into the mentorship program as a mentor, it is also rewarding. I mean, that's an important thing to spread, that it's a rewarding experience for both parties. As regards the comment by Alison, I cannot not agree more with Alison of the importance and the value that these mentorship programs have, because it provides the opportunity for a one-to-one discussion with the person. So that person is sharing and opening up the concerns. And as Catherine said earlier, maybe we could be seeing only one part of the glowing part of the nice things. But in this mentorship program, the mentees have the opportunity to share their concerns, maybe their challenges, and at the same time, they are connecting with someone who has been earlier and as a younger person through same or different challenges. And that in a way is one very powerful tool of empowering these young pharmacists to get to the science, to participate in further education, further programs, and to be active in their profession in the different parts of the world. I've had experience with mentees from different parts of Africa, Australia. So, and you can see that independent of which area of the world they're coming from and how much they have access to infrastructure, the mentorship program helps them share their concerns and be empowered by being able to discuss those activities. So I do agree that the mentorship program is a very powerful tool to be able to provide equity to all.
It is, and we have your examples to share there, Lillian, and I'm just wondering whether we might expand this out so that mentorship could be seen as part of everyone's role, rather than imagining you have to be senior to be a mentor. And I'd just say, we mentioned our hearts are with our colleagues in Turkey and Syria, but, still people put a bright smiley face on to get on with the work. It doesn't mean that everything is easy. So I couldn't agree with you more there, Lillian. That's lovely. I'll be back to you, Lillian, so don't go away. And now I move on to Charlotte. Charlotte, I wonder if you could share some good practice action that FIPWiSE can take for gender equality for women in science and education, something that you might have drawn from, or something that you've read, or just something that you think we could do that's very practical and very easy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Well, I'd love to share some of the practice tools. I would say that I think what we initially set out was that we wanted to, when we sat in Abu Dhabi a long time ago and decided to do this, we thought that the network would be important, and we thought that knowledge would be important. I think we could say we have achieved some of that. What we're talking about right now regarding the mentorship and the Rising Stars, I see this as interconnected, because that is actually very important in relation to this work, is to understand that you're not alone. So the challenges that you feel in your everyday life, in your work or in your position or whatever, that is similar to others, and you can reach out. So making it accessible would be a tool to offer, so it's easy to reach out. I strongly support the very formalized mentorship programs, but I also support all the interactions you can see now on social media and everything else. So let's get out there, let's show each other, and let the young rising stars very much also be active in this sense. So that's one, make it even more accessible for everyone to reach out, because it can be, I've been a mentor a few times, and I know it can be a big decision to apply to be a mentee, where some of the initial steps could be made easier for us. So that's one. And I think the other tool, being from research and also having a leg in the SIG group on pharmacy practice research, I think one of the things that we can do even more, Claire have run some wonderful fearless, what's it called, FIPWiSE and fearless, I love it. But we can do even more on the knowledge part of it, because there's actually a lot of research out there. And that could be in different formats made available for the members of FIP and women all over the world, or people being met in a not equal way. And this research could be made available both in webinars, but also just as short movies or something else. So we should get the knowledge out there. We can definitely find it if we want to, but we should get it out there living, making it available for an everyday practitioner, because I think that's our task, to find it and put it out there so that it's accessible for a lot of people around the world. And that's the platform of FIP.
I really like that. You kind of put yourself into the shoes of someone who might just need some advice, rather than thinking about it from the perspective of those that have the advice, Charlotte, and that we can never be too accessible. It's always about pushing the boundaries with that. Lots to chew on there. Yeah, I love the fearless word as well. That shouldn't stop us from supporting those that may have fears and anxieties, though, and that can be, I think that's really in my mind today as I listen to Lillian and yourself. Thanks, Charlotte. I'll be back to you in a short while. I'm going to move on to Marilyn now. Could you, Marilyn, briefly tell us what the landscape in pharmaceutical sciences is like for women from your perspective?
Yeah, I can certainly, base this on my experience over the years, since I was a graduate student more than 40 years ago, and also some of the insight that we received from doing the international survey of graduate programs, although we didn't focus that much on gender. And certainly it's an area where we need more knowledge with regards to challenges which vary by geographical location. But, starting off, there were very few women, of course, in graduate programs in the pharmaceutical sciences, and very few faculty members. So personally, I was one of very few graduate students, but also the first woman faculty member in my department and the first woman chair in my department. So we have come a long way with regards to women in graduate programs. About 50% of doctoral programs students are women now. And I think there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of career opportunities. Are there gender differences in women looking at these opportunities and obtaining opportunities? We really don't know. That hasn't been specifically looked at. And I think it's something that we really need to consider in going forward. With regards to faculty members, women faculty members, this has really lagged behind, I think, the percentage of women in graduate programs. So we've seen a lag in women progressing to full professors or vice presidents of pharmaceutical industry departments. We've seen a lag in women receiving recognition through awards. And this is something that there's been some improvement, but it's something that really, has lagged behind the women, going into graduate programs. I really enjoyed some of the comments that Allison made, as well as Lillian. We really do need to address mentoring programs for women, but also, we need to encourage women to move out of their comfort zone and get into higher positions, leadership positions, apply for awards, something that many women are reluctant to do. I know I had one undergraduate summer student once, and I thought she was excellent. And so I thought, well, I'm really going to make the effort to tell her that she is excellent and should go on to graduate school. And, so I did this. And she said she never really considered it. She never thought she would go on, to a graduate program. And she ended up being a wonderful graduate student and now has a wonderful career. But again, sometimes just, you know, encouraging people to get past their comfort zone and try, you know, get into an area where they may not have considered moving before.
Yeah, I think, Marilyn, isn't that the phrase, if you can't see it, you can't be it? And often people don't think that they can do it because they don't see that, or they haven't thought of the opportunity. So having this wide variety of mentors and colleagues out there, as well as telling a lot of stories about career progression, I think just helps people open their eyes to it. Again, that really fits in with the fearless piece as well. I think people often fear rejection or think that they aren't good enough before they start applying for new things, as well as maybe not knowing about it. So there's lots we can do with that, Marilyn. Thank you so much. Very valuable. And now I come to Dalal, last but by no means least in our panel. Could you share your experience with FIPWiSE initiatives that you've actively participated in? For example, I know you've been active with our word series, with our toolkit. Dalal, just tell us a little bit about what you found useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And I'm really happy to be with this interesting panel of women scientists today to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of FIPWiSE and also the World International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Actually, if the memory takes me back to when FIPWiSE was launched, that was in 2020, and at that time, you know, the world was moving with uncertainty with the onset of the pandemic. And for me personally, being based in my home country, Lebanon, at that time, Lebanon was and still, unfortunately, is assailed by a multifaceted crisis. So the issuing of that idea of having like a hub or a movement for women in science was really interesting for me. And as you said, yes, we started with, at that time, a couple of videos. So the FIPWiSE videos, for example, the one about about COVID, at a time where misinformation was everywhere and people needed to know accurate information about the pandemic. So this was a good insight to share, especially as Charlotte said a while ago, that these things and these initiatives are accessible for everyone. Later on, as we continued with FIPWiSE, several other initiatives were done, and the FIPWiSE members did have many meetings. In some of these meetings, there were brainstorming, in others, there were planning, in others, people just shared their life stories and their experience, and this was really interesting. The meetings also did come to fruition with projects. For example, the toolkit, I believe the toolkit personally was a great, not only achievement, but it also paved a way for how to look into healthy culture that enables and that includes women in the workplace. So this toolkit was really good and ended also with an article published about positive environments. So I think with all the initiatives done, the videos, the podcasts, the toolkits, also the Rising Stars, FIPWiSE has really contributed to women in science and education. I'd mention in the Rising Stars program, for example, when we were selecting the Rising Stars among the multiple applications that were submitted to FIPWiSE, we were happy to see the richness in the data presented, and we really hope that everyone could be a rising star. People shared not only their achievements in science and education, some of them shared life stories, some of them shared being cancer survivors, being innovators in their field, being somehow affiliated with great organizations. So actually, it was a pleasure to look at all these applications and finally select the Rising Stars. I look forward to see future initiatives in which FIPWiSE could play a great role. Thank you.
I think so, Dalal. I think that's absolutely fabulous to mention not only the wealth of initiatives that have happened, but using some of the crises that we've all experienced or we've watched other colleagues experience has been really helpful for us to learn from. So I thank you very much. Now, colleagues, we've got about 7 minutes before I have to go to our final question, where you will be asked a very quick round. So I'm going to ask you all just to be quite brief, but I do want to get through another question each. So let's keep on our toes and make sure that we can cover as much as possible. So Claire, back to you. You've heard a lot there about what success has looked like, but also a lot of reflections on what we might need. So if FIPWiSE is to expand its scope of work and activities, where do you think the focus should be? What should it include?
So I think the focus has got to be on light, Catherine. We have done a lot as individuals and as FIPWiSE and also as part of the equity programme to shine a light on others. So I think Marilyn's example of highlighting the potential of a student and encouraging them to be plucky. It's not about luck, you make your own luck, you are brave. And also the Rising Stars programme. So we are doing a lot as a movement, but also as individuals to shine our light on others and shine the spotlight on those who are doing wonderful things. What we also need to do as individuals is shine a light on the nonsense that we see. I call it salon. Shine a light on if you're seeing sexism, if you're seeing abuse, if you're seeing anything that limits people's potential, then we've got to do that. So that and encourage people to do that. But FIPWiSE was launched on the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And we've all talked about what this can mean to young women, and to girls as well. They are our future. We need to show them the light and what a career in science could look like, what a career in pharmacy education could look like, what a career in pharmacy can look like, and the impact that it can have on people's lives. My daughter's 6, she is fearless. We need to ensure that we keep that buzz and that we show them that, and I've got my t-shirt on today, she who dares wins. And I think from that perspective, we need to invest a bit more time in a digital tool. So how do we extend that reach? We've talked about our reach. What can we do? Do we need TikTok? I don't know. So I think that's probably something that we need to look at further, is how we make this initiative and this program more accessible, and how we can use the available tools to do that. So, but it's all about light.
Wonderful. So light, where we want to shine a light on greatness, but also to be fearless in shining a light on nonsense. That's the take home here, and accessibility. Thanks so much, Claire. I'll be back to you near the end. Alison, what educational partnerships or activities can we do to achieve gender equality for young professional women and female students? You're on mute, Alison, sorry.
Can you hear me now? Yes. So thank you so much. So I'm really hearing a lot about accessibility and reach, and really getting to the target audience that need all of this that we are delivering at FIPWiSE. And thinking from the educational partnerships perspective, I think that working in collaboration, for example, with student associations like the International Pharmaceutical Student Federation, to foster some of these initiatives will really go deep roots, like get to the upcoming young girls in science and education. We could do a lot like virtual exchanges, sharing of research ideas and projects among these young women in science and education, just to show them that we're here and we've been there, and we need you to believe in yourself to get these things done. We could host collaborative trainings on actually skill sets that will build confidence and resilience and adaptability. And I think this is also building on, I think, what Charlotte said about the knowledge and the network part. So we need to work collaboratively to provide this kind of knowledge and skill sets to encourage young women in science and education. Then the last thing that I would say, which is not really it's not really educational partnership, but it's really important in ensuring accessibility, is we could consider having some sort of community engagement or some sort of support group, just to ensure access of the young students, the females who actually need this, having access, a one-time access. It could just be, I need to talk with someone about this. It could just be something, just that having that plug, that connect would also be very useful in this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alison, very much. I can see some hows coming out here loud and clear. Lillian, could you please share your thoughts on how our academic institutional members, soon to become academic member organisations, and FIPWiSE programmes can work together to do a little bit of what we're talking about here? What's your vision for this?
Yes, thank you for coming in with this thought of the AIM and how leadership in schools of pharmacy can also embrace this FIPWiSE vision. And first of all, I'd like to reiterate what Marilyn said earlier, that we have come a long way, and that's probably thanks to a number of women leaders that have been along the way, starting from Gloria Franke, Agathe Verley, that have been active in FIP to move this and for all to connect. So coming back to what can be done further, I think we need, with FIPWiSE and AIM, which looks more at the leadership positioning and how we can show that women should follow up on further education and be also engaged in taking up academic careers with an interest in leadership roles. And how AIM can do that is by connecting with FIPWiSE and showcasing, for example, how the opportunities in academia are very relevant to also what pharmacists and women aspire to be, and that can be possible. So I believe that AIM and FIPWiSE can collaborate by providing showcasing of examples of already functioning women in academic career, and who are also developing, so they need not be at the end of their leadership career, but developing in that, because everybody can share and showcase success stories, and also demonstrate the feasibility of having women leaders in academia also be part of the team, and that they do actually provide a different perspective. And therefore, from an equity point of view, it's important to have women leaders in academia in the team to provide the balance of both what men, women, the gender equality and the needs of then the pharmacy students.
It's great. I can see all of these ideas coming together. Charlotte, I'm just wondering, I see a lot of crossovers with what you've heard already, but keeping in mind the existing programs, how can FIPWiSE address equity and diversity in workforce development, continued education, training, career progression opportunities? And I think Lillian's just made some nice networks there, but from your perspective, Charlotte.
I have to go back to Alison and what she said in the beginning. I actually think we should, because I think it's obvious to everybody, we have a lot of ideas. This is based on research. This is based on my personal experience, my personal career, the way I reached the goal where I'm at today. But we don't know into depth what means something for the new generation. So I actually go with Alison on this one. We should ask them, what do you need? What are your needs? What is it that you would find the most fruitful in the work moving forward? I think that's for me, that's the obvious thing to do right now, because we are actually well established as a group.
It's a great point, isn't it? Sometimes we take all the stress on ourselves by thinking we need to come up with the questions and the answers, whereas actually we can go straight to the people who matter. Yeah. Marilyn, could you draw on one example from your field about how you have seen gender equality being achieved?
Well, I think that, an emphasis by academic institutions as well as industry about work-life balance is very important because women, especially entering new careers, they have, they're starting families, getting married. There's all of these other family influences on their career that are not have been addressed adequately. And so they need the support of their institutions to support work-life balance and in order to have a successful career. And I think that is really important. I also think that We need more knowledge, as a number of individuals have already said. We need to know what are the real challenges that our graduate students are facing, even that they're facing to contemplate going into graduate school, or as faculty members, or as pharmaceutical scientists. Again, there are going to be geographical differences, and these need to be addressed. We really need to have that knowledge in order to plan programs, mentorship, professional education programs. And another area that was identified through the surveys that we did, students and faculty really want to have more international research and collaboration exchange. And again, that's an area that, we really need to consider with an international organization. What can we do to facilitate this?
It's a great set of ideas there, Marilyn. I'm really glad we're recording this, team. We're going to have to really dig deep in here. Dalal, again, last but by no means least, how should FIPWiSE continue to establish the gender equality and leadership in pharmaceutical education and science? And again, I know we've touched on this because there's so much overlap between each of our panelists today, but over to you, Dalal.
Actually, I'm happy that there is this overlap, Catherine, because this indicates how much the topic is of importance. And with statistically only like 30% of women in health reaching higher leadership positions, I think a move is needed, as suggested by all the panelists. Actually, FIPWiSE had previously done a very successful experience, which is the Leadership Lab. So I might suggest that a Leadership Lab should be like extrapolated further, maybe into a forum of leaders. Maybe I can second Lilian in her thought that such leadership forums or activities should merge with AIM, because there we have the experienced leaders as well who come from different sectors in academia. This is one thought. Another thought I may suggest is to involve FIPWiSE and its partners with more research about leadership, about the C-suite pharma scientists, women scientists, who can share their experience. Maybe qualitative and quantitative research on those individuals could help to further assist how FIPWiSE touches on leadership and helps women scientists.
Such great ideas there, Dalal. Thank you so much. And like you say, the overlaps only provide us with richness and validity as well. So Claire, before we crash into the deadline of the event today, I'm going to ask you to pull out one short sentence. I know you spoke about light before, but you've heard from all the colleagues on the panel about what they see as the priorities. But what one thing should we do physically this year that we can hold ourselves to account with this time next year?
We should expand the mentoring program so that we all rise together.
That's superb. And then, of course, we're going to do a little bit of everything else as well, because we do love that. That's really great. I am so honoured and proud to have been chairing this panel today. Thank you all for all of your time. Marilyn, getting up before you've even gone to bed, and everyone else in between with your efforts today. That's been super to be part of it. I'm going to hand back to Lina now. Lina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for that excellent discussion, and to everyone, really, really valuable inputs. And I really think we should plan lots of our work by having a lot of these discussions. It really helps with ideas and understanding what priorities are from different perspectives. And I think it's fantastic. The team with ourselves will definitely digest and devour everything that's being said today. Thank you again. Before we close, we have a special video message from FIP's immediate past president, Dr. Carmen Pena.
Dear colleagues, it is an honor to join you in celebrating the third anniversary of the FIPWiSE program and also the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Reflecting on everything that has happened in these 3 years of life of the program, we can assure that it was a premonitory birth times of pandemic, because there was a need to create a think tank of female talent in the field of research, in particular in the field of health, and within this, in the field of pharmacy with capital letters. We also know FIPWiSE has grown and has been developed by introducing different initiatives and important transformation tools. You have also informed us how the key initiatives, successes, impacts, and lessons are being reviewed, and the need to discuss about the future of FIPWiSE to transcend and be able to give the greatest reach and social value. FIPWiSE has shown how women are supported in pharmacy to reach their full potential and support female students and also young professionals in these fields. I am sure that by empowering young women in pharmaceutical science and education, we are reinforcing the future of our profession in the field of science, of education, and also of clinic. Thank you, FIP, because you have put courage, dedication, follow-up, and as a consequence of this, you have found raw materials that shows that FIPWiSE is already a successful model that can be shared and create synergies with sister professions. Thank you, FIP, for not faltering in the wars of the pandemic and illuminating so much talent that should not, cannot remain in the shadows. The world cannot afford to miss it. As our president says, long live FIPWiSE, long live FIP. Thank you.
Lina, before I hand to you, could I just say what wise words from our immediate past president there, literally front and centre. And we know, Lina, that she can run, but she can't hide. We want her heavily involved in FIPWiSE this year and beyond. There you go, Lina. I just felt moved by that. Thank you.
No, I agree. And extra inspiring as Carmen was the first female president of FIP, hopefully not the last, but that in itself is very inspiring. And she remains a mentor for many of us at FIP and beyond. Thank you for that, Carmen. We couldn't have Parisa with us, who is the executive sponsor of FIPWiSE, but she's kindly sent in a quote saying, women leaders in pharmaceutical sciences and education and all other areas of pharmacy have an obligation to empower other women, especially younger women. The FIPWiSE program provides tools that can support the role of mentors and help foster the empowerment of young women in the pharmaceutical sciences and education fields. Thank you for that, Parisa, and we look forward to continuing to work with her. And I'd like to also thank Aisu and Noor, especially for coordinating this event. And before we move to the final closing slides, telling you about our upcoming activities, I wanted to hand over to Catherine for concluding thoughts.
Well, I really have not much more to say, and I know the people on the call will be relieved and a little bit surprised that I would say that, because I'm never without words. But I think Carmen put this really, really clearly for us. Now, Claire, I don't think we thought 3 years ago that it would be the 3 years that we've had. And I think the adaptability, the resilience, the tenacity that you colleagues have shown, and all of those, the rising stars, the existing stars, our wise stars, everybody has just stood shoulder to shoulder in this endeavour. And I thank you all. And let me just say, there is more to be done. The more we do, the more we uncover. So that's it from me, Lina, but I just wonder if I can hand to you for some final words. And then I promise you, colleagues, we will follow up with our actions. The mentorship program is the first and foremost, but all of the other actions, all the way through to Dalal's idea for the research around this, for celebrating what we're doing well, for engaging with IPSF and our early careers, both in science and in education. Lina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Catherine. Just a couple of slides telling you about some important work streams and activities at FIP ahead of closing. We wanted to use this opportunity to tell you more about the Pharmacy Education Journal, FIP's PEJ. It's a fully open access peer-reviewed journal that has been serving the domain of education, workforce development for over 20 years. It specifically supports and encourages early career academic scientists and practitioners from everywhere to publish their work with a no-cost route to dissemination. So we'd really encourage you to check out Pharmacy Education Journal. Consider using it, of course, for your research, but also for submitting any new research or thought pieces that you'd like shared with the world. And you can Google Pharmacy Education Journal, and that will the website will come up for you. And last but not least, we'd like to remind you of the upcoming Congress of FIP, the 81st FIP World Congress of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, this time taking place in Brisbane in Australia between the 24th and the 28th of September. The theme of this year's Congress is Pharmacy Building a Sustainable Future for Healthcare, Aligning Goals to 2030. We started with sustainability today and ending with that note through this Congress. We're also welcoming submissions of abstracts by everyone, and the closing deadline for that is 1st of May. And the early bird registration will close on the 15th of June. So check out the Congress program on the website, and we really, really hope to see you and all of our colleagues in Brisbane, Australia later this year. Thank you again to everyone involved in coordinating this event, to our panelists, to our panel moderator, Aisu and Noor for coordinating, and behind the scenes for Marianne and the rest of the events team. Thank you so much. Have a good day.